Hello everyone, and welcome to part 7 of my multi-state Railfan trip series. In this part, you will see 3 days of action along the NS Lurgan line in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Now where we start on this first day is at a very special location. Many of you are aware that my YouTube name is Trackside Disco, which comes from this spot. I've just about been railfanning the Lurgan line for most of my life now, and back in the day me and my dad were looking for an accessible spot to watch trains. And about 7 years ago we found this rock next to the tracks. As we were walking up to the spot, we found a plastic disco ball and put it on a stick, and we named the location Trackside Disco. A few years back, they ripped up the crossing here and demolished all the houses on the nearby road. After about 2 years of not coming here, we arrived to a large construction site in an overgrown field. Since me and my dad both figured that railfanning on an active construction site is a terrible idea, but since we also knew that this would likely be our last time coming here, we stuck around for one more train, NS-274, with an awesome SD70 Ace Duo up front, so please enjoy this catch. It was a pretty bittersweet moment remembering all the memories me and my dad made here over the years. From catching heritage units to getting horn shows, it was sad knowing that this time would likely be the last time coming to this spot. I decided to document the spot one more time so we could always look back on it. Here, you could see these 2 cinder blocks me and my dad found that we would sit on. I removed the weeds from the one to sit on this day, but you could see how the other one had been taken over by the weeds. What really made this spot great was that we were on a large rock basically, which allowed us to be a bit elevated and remain a safe distance away from the trains. Here you will see the remnants of old mailboxes from the houses that stood on this road once prior. This road here when we first came went over the tracks and had houses on it, which have all since been ripped down. This construction site will likely become some form of fulfillment center. Me and my dad decided to relocate then to another spot that we have been coming to for years, and we were lucky enough to see 3 more trains this day. The Lurgan line isn't the busiest line, but it certainly hosts trains moving at quick speeds, such as this train here, 12R, a manifest making its way up to Enola Yard. Shortly after 12R came through, we were greeted with NS-28R, one of the couple of long-haul priority intermodals that passes through the Lurgan line. The high temperatures on this day caused speed restrictions on the Lurgan line, which is why they weren't moving too quick. About 10 minutes later, NS 289, which had been waiting in a siding, pulled out onto the main. Funny enough, I saw these engines in Pittsburgh 2 days before I saw them here. Anyways, NS 289 is an intermodal train that carries regular intermodal stuff, but also carries loaded trash containers, the ones up front. Considering how hot it was, after NS 289 we went home. But the next day, aka Independence Day, we decided to head back out for a short bit of time. The first train of the day was another priority intermodal, NS 25A, with a nice looking Union Pacific leader up front leading the train. always nice to see foreign power, especially leading. We stuck around for one more train, NS-28R again, and in this clip of 28R you can really see some of the fast speeds that these freights put up on the Lurgan line, which is why I really enjoy railfanning here. There's something so fascinating about seeing such a large train going at such a quick speed. Since we would be seeing other trains later in the week, me and my dad hung around the Lurgan line the next morning. Now, a pretty big storm had left some trees on the tracks the prior night, so many trains were held, leading them all to run the following morning, so this day was actually pretty busy. We were at a new spot down the road where there was a crossing they had ripped up, but the gates were still here, so we got some horn action. This spot was nice because it features an awesome straightaway and a curve the other direction. Up first was NS-289, the daily intermodal and trash train, with another UP engine in the consist. After about an hour of waiting came our next train, NS28R, moving pretty quick again, and featuring some auto racks at the end. After another half hour of waiting, you were met with NS288, the counterpart to NS289, with a pretty standard train, moving quick but not as quick as 28R. NS288 usually carries trash containers, but lucky for me there weren't any on this train today. Also note this interesting sight of a crossing with gates, but no road going through. Pretty funny in my opinion. The intermodals continued, with the next train being NS24X, another pretty high priority intermodal running from Atlanta, Georgia to Croxton, New Jersey. Plus, they were really moving through here too today. Only about 10 minutes later came NS-27A, which is 28R's counterpart. Now usually this train comes later, around 2 to 4 p.m., but today they had a pretty short train, so they were down here pretty quick. This train always runs with 4 engines, usually 2 up front and 2 mid-DPU, but sometimes you'll see them like this, with all the engines up front. Today was no different from the past few days with temperatures in the mid to high 90s, but me and my dad stuck it out. And we waited for one more train this day, NS-11Z, the first manifest train of the day, running from Enola to Roanoke, Virginia. That wraps up part 7 of the series. I really hope you all enjoyed, as this part was really special to me. Thank you all very much for watching.